Hello, it's John from Shopkeep Arty. In addition to our free Tuesday Arty classes, we also host special Arty classes on Thursdays for our patrons and paying guests. In fact, I'm just about to start one now with Liz Chaderton. Hello, Liz. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. I can't wait to do today's. I'm looking at that cat and I'm thinking that looks delicious. A delicious
Oh,
lot of watercolor play. So that's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for that. In this video, you'll be able to see some of the highlights of the live class webinar that we do. If you want to be part of our next special Arty class webinar, it's just £5 or $6.50. However, if you become one of our patrons, you can support us monthly for around the same price as this one class and get complimentary access to these events throughout the whole month. You also get access to the video recordings so you can relive the events, patron special events, and loads more. It really is the best value way to do it. Plus, you can cancel at any time. If you're interested in becoming our patron and supporting the work we're doing, please see the link in the description below. Also, Liz is going to be holding a more immersive 2 to 3 hour workshop webinar in the coming weeks that you can join separately and learn loads of her tips and tricks. You can also see a little bit more about this later in this video. And details can also be found in the description below. Anyhow, keep your brushes wet and let's get on with the show. I hope you enjoy.
hello. Hi, hello. Welcome back and welcome to my kitchen. If you've never
Yes.
started with me before, usually I'm in my sort of shed at the bottom of the garden, but due to some internet issues, I'm now in my kitchen and there's a big sign on the kitchen door saying, "Do not come in."
I
So,
seem to remember when you did the first class with us a long time ago, there was you had someone cut through your internet cable or something
yeah,
on the street.
yes, and I had to go to a friend's house in the middle of lockdown and have all the windows open so I didn't bring any germs in. Or yes,
Oh, it always happens with you, Liz. I can't believe it.
oh, I know. We're just like breathe and relax. But here we are at my kitchen table. So anyway, hello, and thank you for joining me today. So what we're going to do today is paint a rather gorgeous fluffy pussycat. Oh, thank you. There he is, or she. Probably she, I would guess. And the reason I chose this was, even though it's actually a very simple painting, it will give us a chance to practice lots of things. We've got some really hard edges, and we've got the beautiful wet in wet of the fur and lost edges, and we've got some simplification going on with, say, the eye and the face because it's all dark. And then right at the end, we've got the lovely white whiskers, which I did using, and I never know how to say this, sgraffito effect, which is basically scratching out. So I thought, even though it's quite simple, there's lots of techniques in here that should be fun. And if you like fluffy pussycats, I was going to recommend you really have a look at the work. There's an artist, and I have to say his surname properly, Andre Penovac, I'm going to say. He's Serbian, and he paints fluffy pussycats in black ink, and it's magical. So if you get a chance, it's Penovac, Andre Penovac, something like that.
I'm going to be a target. I'm going to target him, Liz. I'll see if I can get him on an Arty class.
Oh,
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
I'll sign up for that one. His work is stunning. So do fluffy black cats, his speciality. Mine's got a little colour because I like colour. So that's what we're going to do.
Now we've had a question from Anne saying, can I use sepia instead of black? I find it less hard.
Absolutely. You can use whatever colours you want. If you want a green fluffy pussycat, knock yourself out, because coming back to this one, I know cats are not blue. I do know that, but this has got blue in it. Sepia is very plausible, so just use what colours you've got. and it's the process. And I think on the list I suggested something like, oh, transparent grey or lamp black. I think I gave some different possibilities on the blues. I'm a great believer in not winging it, but just improvising. You know, how does this colour combination work? Does it look good? Then go for it, because it's all about the lights and the darks. Absolute colour really doesn't matter. You want a purple cat, you'll make my heart sing, because you're making it your own. You're putting your own stamp on it. So yeah, please.
Perfect.
So I have sketched out, let me pull that up there, the cat onto my paper. I've also managed to get a really big blob of some paint on it while I've been preparing, but that doesn't matter. We'll just make that extra wet in wet just there. So,
now, do you think it would be a good idea for them to sketch something out now then, Liz?
Yes, I was just going to say, so hopefully you will have got this lovely reference photo. I got this from pixabay.com, which again, if you've done a class with me, I always kind of eulogize about, because they are royalty free. You can use them without any copyright issues. They're there and available to download in high resolution. It's a fab site, so that's Pixabay, pixabay.com. But yes, shall I leave that there just in case someone hasn't managed to print it out? And then
yeah, you can do. Yeah.
The most important part is that profile.
Yes.
So that profile is the important part. For the people who are drawing, can I just point a couple of things out? That the head, if you look at the size of the head, it's roughly the size of the body to the top of the legs. And if you look at the width of the head, it's roughly the size of from the head to where the tail starts. And actually it's roughly the size of the tail. So that's a third, and then a bit there. So that's look at those proportions, and that will help you make sure he doesn't turn into a giant fluff ball or the head too big or whatever. So take some measurements, and as I say, handily, that sort of measurement is pretty much the same as the body, which is pretty much the same as that tail, and that to that, and in fact to the legs. So you've almost got a third, head, body, legs, and then head, body, tail, and a bit extra obviously over here, and that will really help you get your proportions right.
Now someone else has said maybe see the drawing for a bit longer. So,
sorry, of course.
The drawing would be good. And Melanie said, will the Zoom be available on replay? And Melanie, yes, if you're a patron, you'll be able to watch the video. We'll upload that a bit like we did with Jane Bettridge's last week, and you can just watch that as many times as you want on a patron afterwards. We'll also be uploading a highlights video of this to YouTube that anybody can watch, but that'll have a sped up version. It won't be the full video.
Okay, I've just zoomed in a bit with my camera in the hope that makes it a bit clearer. I don't like to do really heavy lines because I don't want them to show through my final painting if possible. I should have said this is an A4 piece of paper, and I am just looking for my pad so I can tell you what sort of paper it is. Sorry, put it in the way. It's Derwent Inktense paper.
Ah, yes. We've actually got an Inktense workshop directly after this class, actually, with Robert Dutton. Okay, he's going to be using Derwent Inktense to do that. So it's quite good watercolour paper, I think, isn't it?
It's really nice watercolour. It's quite hard. Yeah. So you can be fairly rough with it, which is nice. It's just £140, so it's not particularly thick, but given that this is only A4, it's a small thing, when we shouldn't get any cockling, and it needs to be thick enough, especially if I'm scratching out at the end with my sharp knife. You don't want to cut right the way through your paper because that would make you cry. So Yeah.
Now, Anne's got her hand up, so I'll bring her in a minute. But
Okay.
before I do, Bobby said, thank you for the proportions, by the way. And Hazel's asked, do you normally tape your paper down like you've done here?
On the whole, not. To be honest, I taped it down just because when I'm doing like a demonstration, it's a bit embarrassing if it all starts to sort of go all over the place or I drop it or something. So taping it down is really for my own security because I've got witnesses to how I'm working.
Yes.
And especially because this is a small piece, it shouldn't. I mean, it's not going to cockle like this, but sometimes they just slightly bow, and I am going to use plenty of water on that body. Yeah. So it's easier just to tape it. And I have got it at, well, look, I'm actually resting it on my reel of tape. So it's at, I don't know, 5-10% of an angle.
Now, what's A4 in US? Because Carol's asked, what does it mean quarter sheet? She's asked.
There you go, 9 inches by 12
there
inches.
We go. Perfect.
Yeah, cool. Well, hopefully you've all sketched out your cat. I say only needs to be a bit of guideline, but it's that profile that's so important, because that if he gets a bit of extra fluff around his bum, it really doesn't matter, but that profile does. So
as you know, our Arty classes give you a great flavour of what's to come in the Artist's upcoming workshop webinar, which is usually around 2 to 3 hours. And I want Liz now just to walk you through a little bit about what she's going to be doing. She's going to be taking you through more of a detailed portrait of a cat, step by step, from start to finish. And obviously you'll get a lot more time to ask questions and uncover a lot more, but it's obviously more of a detailed thing. This is quite a quick sort of brief overview, but I think it's still incredibly effective. Yes, I think you've got something to hand there. Let me just share the screen. There we go.
I shall say.
So it's a lot more detailed, isn't it? It's got a lot more depth to it as a picture,
Yes,
but maybe you can explain what you'll be covering.
It has. It's got a lot more going on in it, but it's still very loose and impressionistic, because I do understand that actually you don't get many turquoise cats. You might in Colorado, but not in Berkshire where I live. So this will take us a couple of hours to do, and what we'll do is really concentrate on that beautiful eye to get really lovely glassy eye, and we'll start here and then we'll work out from it. Again, dropping the colours in wet and wet like we've been doing here, but in possibly a slightly more controlled way, because this is a short head cat rather than a long head. And we'll work up, and again we'll soften off. Oh, sorry, let me pull that in here. Soften off edges. We'll have a nice contrast of hard and soft edges and so forth. Tend to do sort of about the first layer that we'll work on is probably about, I don't know, 75-80% of the animal. Let that dry, and then put a second layer on where we can develop more detail, develop more tone, and calm things down. Because if you saw this when I did the first layer, it was really quite neon, and I like bright colours, but it was a bit too bright. So we'll settle it all down and develop more depth to it, and also then work on the whiskers. And if I hold it like that, I hope you can see that some of these I've painted negatively. So I've painted around the whiskers to leave the white paper to form the whiskers. And then some I've put on with gouache, and some I've put actually on with a bit of turquoise as well. So he's got multiple layers of whiskers going on. So that is sort of, it's a cat in about 3 layers. Sorry, I can't lay him down because my fluffy cat
You'll get
underneath
wet.
is
No, but
so.
actually, it's quite nice. It's quite nice seeing it so close up, and I love the eye. The eye's got such a lot of
Yeah.
depth to it, hasn't it?
I mean, watercolor eyes. Well, cat's eyes are just stunning. If you stare into a cat's eyes, they're just beautiful. Resistance is futile, and watercolor is gorgeous for doing eyes because the nature of the medium is just so full of light and joy. Anyway, it's perfect for cat's eyes. So that I thought would be really fun as a subject. So it's taking some of what we're doing today and basically doing more of it, and developing those layers. Sorry,
Brilliant, brilliant.
but
No,
yeah, so that's what it's sort
yeah.
of like. And I guess I would crop it probably to a square if I was putting that in a mount, which is why there's so much blank here. But I would plan to sort of cut it down here. That's a half sheet of paper, but it would end up about 40 centimetres square, I guess. Yeah, something like that.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Okay.
So that is coming up, I think, on the did I say the 10th?
10th.
10th
Yes.
of September.
Yes.
So at 3:30. So I hope you can join us. It will be. I love these animal pictures, and I love how they have so much life in them when Liz does them. So it should be a really great, great session. So looking forward to that. Now, hopefully you do know how to do that. You need to go to shopkeeparty.com, click on Arty classes, visit. You'll see Liz's upcoming workshop, click on there, and then it will give you the instructions on how to then book her place. You can also pre-order the video if you can't particularly make that day. So it's got all the different instructions through that process.